Nobody expected a teenager with almost no experience on the biggest stage in football to change history forever. The world was watching a World Cup final, millions of fans were waiting for legends to rise, but instead, a rookie stepped onto the pitch and delivered one of the greatest performances football had ever seen. In just 90 minutes, a player who was supposed to be a backup became the nightmare of an entire nation and turned himself into a football legend. Welcome back to GameBlueprint. Today we're diving into one of the most unbelievable stories in football history, the day a rookie walked into a World Cup final surrounded by pressure, expectations, and some of the greatest players on the planet, only to completely change the course of the game. It was a moment that proved football is unpredictable, that heroes can come from anywhere, and that sometimes the biggest stages create the biggest legends. The World Cup final is the place where legends are born. Every player dreams of standing on that pitch, hearing the national anthem, feeling the pressure of billions of eyes watching every move. Throughout history, the final has been controlled by experienced superstars, players who had already proven themselves at the highest level. Names like Pelé, Diego Maradona, Zinedine Zidane, Ronaldo, and many others became symbols of greatness because they delivered when the entire world was watching. But this story was different. This was not supposed to be the moment of a young unknown player. This was supposed to belong to the established stars. The players who had spent years building their reputation. The players whose faces were already famous around the world. But football had another plan. Before the final, very few people believed this rookie would have any major impact. He was talented, but talent alone does not guarantee success. Many young players have entered big tournaments with dreams of becoming heroes, only to disappear under the pressure. The World Cup stage is unforgiving. One mistake can define a career. One bad performance can follow a player forever. And this young player was about to face the biggest challenge of his life. The journey to that final had already been extraordinary. Coming into the tournament, expectations were high, but nobody predicted that a young player would become one of the most important figures in the entire competition. He was still learning, still developing, and still trying to prove that he belonged among football's elite. Behind the scenes, his rise was built on years of sacrifice. Long before the cameras, the trophies, and the worldwide attention, there was a young footballer who spent countless hours training, improving, and fighting for recognition. He wasn't always the first choice. He wasn't always the player everyone talked about. But every setback pushed him forward. The biggest challenge for young players is earning trust. Coaches need to believe they can handle pressure. Teammates need confidence that they can perform when everything is at stake. And fans need proof that they are ready for the biggest moments. For this rookie, that opportunity finally arrived. During the tournament, he slowly started showing glimpses of something special. His confidence grew with every match. His movements became sharper, his decisions became smarter, and the world began to notice that this young player was different. But reaching the final was only the beginning. The final itself was a completely different world. The atmosphere was unlike anything he had experienced before. The stadium was filled with tension. Every pass, every tackle, and every shot carried the weight of history. The opponent was filled with experienced players who had already played in massive games before. They knew how to handle pressure. He had never experienced anything like this. Many expected the rookie to feel overwhelmed. They expected him to hide, play safely, and simply try not to make mistakes. In a World Cup final, survival is often the first goal for young players. But instead, something unexpected happened. From the first moments, it became clear that this was not a player who wanted to simply participate. He wanted to make an impact. He wanted to prove that age did not matter. He wanted to show that greatness is not measured by experience alone, but by courage, confidence, and the ability to perform when history is waiting. The opposition tried to control the game. They tried to slow down the dangerous attacks and stop the young player from finding space. But every time they pushed forward, he found another way to hurt them. His movement created problems. His confidence created fear. His ability to stay calm under impossible pressure shocked everyone watching. And then came the moment that changed everything. A single action. A single piece of brilliance. A moment that would be remembered forever. The rookie received the ball in a situation where many players would have panicked. The pressure was intense. The entire world was watching. But instead of making the safe choice, he made the impossible one. And what happened next shocked the entire football world. The stadium went silent for a moment as everyone tried to understand what they had just witnessed. The rookie had done something that even experienced legends struggle to achieve. He had taken the pressure of a World Cup final and transformed it into his personal stage. The same player who was expected to simply learn from the moment had become the player everyone would remember. But that was only the beginning. The goal, the performance, or the key moment was not just about technique. It represented something much bigger. It showed the world that football is not always controlled by reputation. It is not always the biggest name who decides the biggest moments. Sometimes, the player nobody expects becomes the one who creates history. For the opponents, it was a nightmare they never saw coming. They had prepared for the famous stars, studied the experienced players, and created a plan to stop the biggest threats. But the real danger came from someone they underestimated. And that mistake changed everything. The rookie continued playing with incredible confidence. Instead of becoming nervous after his first major contribution, he became even more dangerous. His movements became smarter, his decisions became faster, and every touch showed that he belonged on that stage. This was the moment when the world stopped seeing him as just a young talent. He became a World Cup final hero. What made his performance even more impressive was the mental strength behind it. Many players have the physical ability to succeed, but very few can handle the emotional pressure of football's biggest moments. A World Cup final is not just a match. It is a battle against fear, expectations, and history. Every mistake is remembered. Every missed opportunity becomes part of the story forever. But instead of fearing that pressure, the rookie embraced it. He played with the confidence of someone who had been there before. He attacked defenders without hesitation. He made decisions quickly. He showed the personality of a player who believed he belonged among the greatest names in football. And that mentality separated him from everyone else. The experienced players around him understood what was happening. They saw a young teammate creating something special. Instead of treating him like a beginner, they started trusting him as one of their most important players. The rookie had earned their respect through his actions. However, the story didn't end there. After the final whistle, the world wanted to understand how this had happened. How could a player with limited experience become the deciding factor in the biggest game in football? How could someone so young handle a moment that destroys the confidence of many professionals? The answer was years of preparation. Behind every unbelievable performance is a story that most people never see. The training sessions when nobody was watching. The failures that tested his confidence. The moments when he had to fight for opportunities. The criticism that could have stopped him but instead made him stronger. Great players are not created in one night. The World Cup final made him famous, but the foundation was built long before that unforgettable day. His coaches had always noticed his special qualities. He had something that could not be taught easily. A unique understanding of the game. The ability to read situations before they happened. The confidence to make difficult decisions when others chose the safer option. These qualities are what separate good players from great ones. Football is often described as a game of skill, but at the highest level, it becomes a game of mentality. The pressure increases, the spaces become smaller, and every opponent is talented. The players who succeed are usually the ones who can stay calm when everything around them becomes chaotic. The rookie proved he had that ability. His performance also changed the way young players were viewed. Before this moment, Many teams were cautious about trusting inexperienced players in the biggest matches. Managers often preferred veterans because they believed experience was the key to success. But this World Cup final challenged that idea. It showed that youth and fearlessness could become powerful weapons. A young player with confidence, talent, and the right mentality could compete against the best in the world. The impact of this moment reached far beyond one match. Millions of young footballers around the world watched and realized that dreams were possible. They saw someone close to their age standing on the biggest stage and proving that football history is not only written by legends from the past. New legends can appear at any moment. For the rookie, life changed instantly. Before the final, he was a promising player. After the final, he became a symbol. His name was connected with one of the most unforgettable performances in World Cup history. But fame also brings new challenges. The world that celebrates you today can criticize you tomorrow. After such an incredible performance, expectations become higher. Fans want every match to look like the final. Every mistake receives more attention. Every poor performance creates questions. The challenge was no longer proving he belonged. The challenge was staying at the top. Many young stars struggle after breakthrough moments because success creates a different kind of pressure. Before becoming famous, they play freely because they have nothing to lose. After becoming famous, they play knowing millions expect perfection. But this rookie had already shown something important. He was not just talented. He was mentally strong. The World Cup final was not an accident. It was the result of preparation meeting opportunity. The perfect moment arriving at the perfect time. And years later, fans would still talk about that day. They would still remember how an inexperienced player walked onto football's biggest stage and played like someone who had been waiting for that moment his entire life. The real surprise came later, when people realized that the final was not the beginning of his story. It was the moment the world finally discovered him. Because some players spend their careers chasing one unforgettable night. This player created one before his career had even truly started.